Hi, I'm Natalie Jill, fat loss expert turned high performance coach. When odds are stacked against us, how do we shift and create everything from nothing? How do we level up when we aren't feeling it yet or we've had a big setback? On this podcast, I'll be talking to some of the most inspiring and courageous men and women on this planet who at their worst learned how to achieve success greater than they ever dreamed possible, leveling up and creating everything from nothing. When Chris and Eric Martinez, also known as the dynamic duo, got an unexpected knock on their door at age 18, the course of their lives changed forever. Now the pain became their purpose, and they have since built a six-figure online coaching business and have worked with thousands of people via online and in person to help them look better, feel better, perform better, and live a dynamic lifestyle. They've also worked with hundreds of coaches to help them build their online businesses and scale them. Now, I had a gazillion questions about these twins. I wanted to know about coaching. I wanted to know, how do you find a good coach? How do you get into the coaching business? And how do you know if a coach is qualified for what you want to be coached on? Join in today and learn exactly how Chris and Eric Martinez leveled up and created everything from nothing. Today on Leveling Up, I've got in person Chris and Eric Martinez, and they have a huge presence online and they help fitness businesses. They consult with them. And when you look at them, they just look like they were born successful, that they had everything always together from the get-go, that they just came into the world to do this and it was easy for them. And talking with them, I realized now that that was not the case. And I wanted to dig in and understand what brought you to who you are today, how you got there.
Well, first and foremost, Natalie, thank you so much for having us on your show. We're here in your beautiful home, so just want to express some gratitude there.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And then twin brother, he's a minute younger. I always got to give him stuff for that.
That's funny. I asked if they were identical twins because they look alike, but not like completely alike. But I was like, okay, they're identical twins with some tattoo variations. Yeah. But that's probably how most people tell you apart.
Absolutely. We get it all the time, so I always like mess with people and say, no, we're just friends or cousins. And a lot of people...
They believe it?
Oh, yeah. We get it everywhere. Grocery stores, everywhere. It's like nonstop.
Yeah. That's funny. So take me back. Were you guys born knowing you want to do something with fitness? And how did this happen?
Yeah, I'll take your listeners through the story. Pretty much, we grew up in a really just like, great household. My father was a correctional officer at San Quentin State Prison. So he was the breadwinner, very strict individual. There's great work ethic, to where he was just the ultimate provider. So he's very tough on us. And he always expressed education and work. My mom was a stay-at-home mom, great mom. Still to this day, I love her to death. So we'd go on vacations. They'd always be there for like our sporting events. So just picture perfect. Yeah. Right. So then all that changed one night. So when we were 18 years old, it was 3 days before Christmas. And we got a knock on our door at 3 a.m. And I literally thought I was in a nightmare, in a dream. And it was a California Highway Patrol officer and a chaplain. So normally that combination, you're like, whoa, like what's going on here? Yeah. And I go in my father's room and he wasn't there. So then I see my mom screaming bloody murder on her knees. So I was like, holy shit. Like, am I in a nightmare? Like, what's going on? And they had told her that he had passed away, he fell asleep behind the wheel. Whoa. So right then and there, our whole life just turned like a 360. Yeah. And I remember what hurts most is I never got to say goodbye to him. And still to this day, that eats me up. So after that, 3 months later, my mother's mom passed away due to cancer. So it was like a ton of bricks hit her and us. And I still feel like we lost like part of our mom, from those experiences.
She was going through a massive trauma.
Absolutely. Too. She was battling alcohol, antidepressant pills. I mean, she was lashing out on us just with anger. And I knew it wasn't her because that's not the mom that raised us. So, we were just going through school, college, because we wanted to still honor our father and what he wanted. So we'd come home from work, school, she'd be drunk, she'd be passed out with pills, just yelling, screaming, to where that would take a lot on us, right? Yeah. So we could only handle so much. So
at 18,
absolutely,
yeah.
We were lost like souls, pretty much. So we had a lot of anger in us. So we got into a lot of trouble. We got arrested. We'd go get in a lot of fights. Stuff that wasn't us. We weren't brought up like that, but we do it to alleviate the anger.
Sure.
So after that, I would say 6 years later, we just got so fed up with just like that lifestyle. And we finally just like looked at each other and we're like, look, we either keep going down this dark path or we turn this around. We sit there and use all this adversity to help people and empower them. So we chose that route because we knew that's what our father wanted.
So before you chose that road, you said you were tired of going down this road. You were tired of being there with your mom, or were you taking that on too? Were you guys drinking and doing that? What was
all of it? Yeah. So I mean, we tell the story that from like 18 to 24, like we were in hell. And I'm not afraid to admit it because I mean, it was literally hell. Like those 6 years just battling everything that we were going through and such a dark time. You know, it's when I look back and it's like, we dodged a lot of bullets.
Yeah. So that could have been a tragedy right there. So you were the opposite of health at that time, I'm assuming. Like that you weren't fit or doing any of that.
We were always like athletes and stuff and just still go through the motions, but we never took it really serious.
Yeah. So what was that moment that you kind of had that realization? And was it one of you? Was it both of you? What happened?
Yeah, it's actually funny. I was actually flipping through a muscular development magazine.
Okay.
And it was, I don't know if you know him, Dr. Lane Norton. Have you heard of him? Yeah. So he had a magazine in there and like I was just like really, really inspired by, he was like a natural bodybuilder. He had a PhD. So I just hit him up and like he started coaching us for about 2 full years and just got fascinated with like our body composition changes, like the science behind.
Like you hired him as a coach?
Okay. Yeah. And after that, like we just hired him like for another 3 years to mentor us because we're like, shit, like the online like coaching is very like early on right now. There's not too many people in it. We're twins. We have a good story. We actually care about people. So we had to mentor us and we hired more coaches. Then we got certified as personal trainers, did some personal training, did our master's in sports nutrition, hired other mentors. And then that's really kind of what kicked off like our business, you know?
Wow. So you, because of your own transformation, got inspired and you're like, I want to do this online. I'm going to help others.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. So yours started as your pain and then that becoming that. When did that flip to, we're not going to coach people on fitness and nutrition and all those things, and we're going to teach them how to build a business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I would take it back a little bit too, because during that time when we were going through, you know, the phase of like our coaching business to like help people with fitness, we hired a life coach.
Okay.
And I was very close-minded to that, but this guy became very highly recommended. I was like, there's something else we're missing here. There's, you know, we need to learn more about like personal growth and personal development mindset, to where he was awesome. And he just opened up those doors for us to where that's where we're teaching a lot of our clients. And we mentioned that, you know, there was a little bit of resistance there because it's hard to get people to do that and blend it in with fitness. And that's when we wrote our book, The New Era of Fitness, because all that talks about that. Because for us, it's just not about, you know, going to the gym, just eating meals.
Yeah.
You know, that's so black and white to look at it.
You know, it's so interesting because like you're saying this, pretty much anyone I've ever talked to that is on the fitness side of business and super fit, what I've done in my business with my programs, we always all see that mindset's everything. Yeah. It's like greater than the nutrition and the fitness. Yeah. But what is it? Because the public doesn't get that. Like they don't want to hear it, but that we all know every single person that's fit will tell you the mental and the mindset overrides the nutrition and the workouts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is?
It's perception. It's from like seeing everything on the media. It's from just looking at people that like are ripped or super fit and just painting that picture that it was all about just being in the gym. It was all about like, you know, abs were in the kitchen, that type of stuff. Yeah. They don't understand though that to get those type of bodies, let's say they were genetically gifted. That's a whole other story. But secondly, those people had to have a strong mindset to literally like set these goals out, go into the gym, eat certain amounts of meals, this and that. So it's a mindset shift to sit there and get in that type of shape. People just don't find it sexy. Yeah.
But what's also interesting is there's definitely people that are super fit that spend hours in the gym and dialing their nutrition. There's also people that are super fit that only work out for 20 minutes and stay. So I don't believe that it requires like all of that, but I'll get messages, as you guys probably do too. And people will say, well, I would be fit too if I had the time to work out or if I had the money for nutrition. And I'm like, it's not even about that.
Yeah. And just to add to your point, I think back to the mindset thing, it's resistance. It really is, because I think that a lot of people are resisting the change of the mindset just because of like past traumas. Maybe there's like some sort of fear that's going on to where their environment, you know, is just really toxic. They don't have those right mentors to push them. You know, they're not learning through osmosis. And I think all that collectively, you know, just really goes into resistance to where they're like, no, I'm going to still keep like, you know, having that fixed mindset instead of growth mindset and play small.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did you know as like a kid from your dad that you guys would be entrepreneurs? Was that something that he spoke into? How did that come about?
Yeah, he came from like a entrepreneur background, because his dad owned a restaurant. He was very entrepreneurial, but my dad wasn't really like entrepreneurial. You know, he actually worked at San Quentin State Prison. He was like a prison guard, like working with like worst of the worst people. But our mom used to tell us stories that
I watch Orange is the New Black.
Okay. Our mom used to tell us that he was like very into real estate. So he was going to start buying a bunch of properties and start doing like some passive income stuff like that. So that's the only thing I really knew about, but he never spoke to us about entrepreneurism. It was always usually about just like getting good grades and like staying in school, getting an education, very kind of like old school mindset with that type of stuff.
So did you have to battle that at all? I know like with me, I've always thought like, what would my dad like? What would he like me doing? Did you have that conversation at all?
Yeah, we never had that conversation with him. You know, we were always trying to just like do what he wanted. Like, you know, he always got us into soccer early on, and like I didn't really care for that, like basketball. So I did it just to please him.
Yeah.
So definitely did a lot of that. But I think just even, you know, once we figured out like about like, I don't know, it was weird. Like we went through a transition where we were working full-time jobs, like at the age of like 23-ish.
Okay.
And we were just like so unhappy and miserable.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought I was like a cancer to like, you know, the team.
Yeah.
So I was just like thinking like, why am I doing this? Like there's no way in hell I can continue working for somebody, like taking their orders and like just be so isolated and have this cap where I can't go anywhere. So that's where we first, you know, pursued entrepreneurism as 24 years old.
So talk to me about that, especially for listeners that feel like they're in that job, that they feel like it's not going anywhere and they don't, what would you tell them? Do you think everyone should take the risk? Should everybody go for being an entrepreneur? What's your feelings around that?
Yeah, that's a good
Me
one.
personally, I don't think everybody should because they don't understand like what they're really getting themselves into. We've had like really, really big ups and downs too with it. And it's such a mind F. It really, really is at the end of the day. And you got to have some really thick skin and just really be resilient, you know, relentless in this game of entrepreneurism. You know, it really is at the end of the day, who can hang in there the most, you know? So I'm always going to say like, I think everybody should try it. Yeah. Just a little bit, like whether it's part-time or just a little side hustle, get their feet wet just to scratch that itch. But, you know, if you can't go full-time into it, then I wouldn't sacrifice a lot for that. You know, I just slowly build it up and just kind of get your feet wet and see how it is.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like as an entrepreneur, it's very hard to shut your brain off, where in corporate, you shut it off. You know?
Yeah. It's because you know that like once it hits 5 or 6, you're done. And that's it. But when you're an entrepreneur, it's like, no, it's never.
There's no vacation. There's no weekend.
Exactly.
It took us probably like, I would say 6 years to finally be like Sundays or off days where we don't crack open the phone. We don't crack open the laptop. It's a reset day. And it took 6 years to do that, you know?
Yeah. And then if your website still breaks, it's still going to go to you. So it's like, you can't even like fully have that.
Yeah. There's always issues and problems to address.
Yeah. What do you think, what had to change for you to be able to walk through that as an entrepreneur? Like, what did you have to start practicing or believing about yourself?
Yeah, I think that goes back to the story. I would say like 5 years ago. Like we started our business when we were, you know, like 24, right? So we had a huge ego. We wanted to be the jack of all trades, like wear all the hats, do everything. So we made a lot of mistakes. We lost a lot of money. Literally almost threw in the towel, to where we finally just, you know, we're like, look, we need mentors. We need coaches. We need outside eyes. We need to be guided by people that know this and have been through that. So we invested in a $25,000 mastermind, Ty Lopez. And it was scary. It was scary as hell because I was like, man, I don't know about this. Like I don't know if I'm going to get my return on investment, but it felt in my heart and gut. I was like, we have to do this to get to the next level. Just not even from like a business standpoint, but from a mindset.
Totally.
And just environment.
So let me ask you about that, because I did the same thing. And with those same price tags, and I've invested in coaches more than that. It's always a stretch, no matter how much you make or what, it's always a stretch. How important is that for people? And because that's very scary for people, especially if you're not making anything yet, you're going to invest like $25,000 in something. What have you learned about that? Is it important for everybody to be investing in something like that? Yeah.
So a couple of things is, the first one is you're basically buying money in advance because you're going to pay like a $25,000 like price tag or whatever. But if you can learn a skill set to make more money or just one or two little tweaks in your business, you're buying money in advance because you're going to go off and make like 3 or 4x that type of money, right? And you're not going to just learn that just through like reading through a book or just like sifting through a bunch of videos. You got to do it through somebody that's been there and has like, you know, walked the walk. The second thing is just think about a mentor. I always like to use this analogy, like you're inside like a forest or woods and you're trying to get from point A to point B. You could sit there and spend days, weeks trying to get through there, trying to find water, trying to survive. Who knows if you're going to get out, right? You might die. But if you have a mentor in a helicopter and they're like, hey, you need to go here to get some food. You need to go here to sleep. You're going to get out of there probably most likely, right? That's what a mentor does. You know, it just buys you speed. And
can you talk about the difference between masterminds and mentors for people that don't know what that is?
So that's a great one because a mastermind is more of just like a community, right? You're buying like a tribe, which is great. I think that's great. We've experimented with that and we've met some amazing people. And I like that because it's a good way to get your feet wet as an entrepreneur and just be around like-minded people, have that growth mindset, learn through osmosis, play bigger, gain confidence, right? But there's only so much you can do with that because it's not like a set blueprint for each person. It's just all kind of like a one size fits all. A coach, a mentor is somebody that's going to literally hold you accountable. Like you're going to buy their time for whatever it is, like a full 8-hour day. And literally you have direct access to them, their resources, their brain, everything, to where it's just a good coach or good mentor is going to push you and hold you accountable.
Yeah. And it's just more specific. Like, do you need help with like personal branding?
Yeah.
Okay, go find a coach that's really good at that. Do you need help with like systems, process? Go find a coach that's really well known in that, you know?
Okay. So my next question around that, because I know people are wondering this, I'm about to ask, how do you find a good coach? But the question before that is, you scroll on Facebook now and everyone's a coach. It's like almost borderline. Actually, it's not borderline annoying. It's annoying. Everyone's a coach. You see. So how does one navigate through finding one? Like, who's the right coach? Who just says they're a coach? There's like a million of them.
Yeah. I got a really good acronym for your listeners. So it's TEA. So just like tea, like, hey, a cup of tea. So this is really, you could use this for when you're going to look for a good mentor or coach. So the T stands for, theory, right?
Okay.
So does this coach, mentor have like good theories that are proven systems that he's actually done?
Okay.
The E is for experience. I think it's the number one big one. And you see all these people on social media that say they're a coach, this and that, but it's like, where's experience? Where's like the 5, 10, 15 years experience? And that's something I look at because I know that they've dealt with shit. They've had losses, they've had wins, and they just are resilient. So the E, look for experience. A, are they taking action? Are they practicing what they're preaching? Everything that they're doing. So TEA.
I like that. And your T sounds kind of like what I would always say, like I'm looking for a method, because I don't think anyone can be successful without a method.
Yeah, absolutely.
So they have to have a method that they're open to sharing. Now talk about the price of coaching, because that's like another one that people usually get sticker shock on. Yeah. And I get that. Can you speak into that a little bit?
Absolutely. I mean, do you want to go ahead on that?
Oh, go ahead.
Okay. In general, because it's like they're all, everything seems to be starting the same number. So
yeah. And I just think it goes back to the experience. I really, really do. It's like, I'm going to always kind of base that off of like what that person's experience is, and honestly, if it's like $5,000 for like, 8 hours, if it's $10,000, to me, that's worth it because you're going to expedite the learning curve and accelerate things. But I mean, it just really depends like on each person's pricing when it comes to a coach.
Yeah. And just be very careful. Like just what are their promises? Because there's so many coaches out there, like you said, that are going to sit there and overpromise and underdeliver. So always be very careful. Like what are they exactly like promising you through this coaching day or through like this coaching program? What are you going to really get out of it?
And I would even see accessibility. Like how much accessibility do you have to them? Like, is it just, okay, is it the 8 hours? Then we're out. Like you can't even text me or this and that, because to me, that's huge. I want to be able to, text that person if I have a question. And it's like, to me, I'll pay more for that.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't take a lot of coaching clients, but when I do, I give them like Voxer access to me.
Yeah.
Like all, because I think that's important. That's an important role. Looking back now, like what would you have done differently on your journey growing your business?
I would have hired mentors and joined a mastermind earlier.
Interesting. Yeah.
Right when I first started, I would have done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just time collapsed everything.
Yeah. Before you even think you need them.
Exactly.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it was the ego and the resistance just the whole time.
And not only that though, but it's like you only know what you know. So we didn't know about masterminds or anything like that. So we were just kind of oblivious to it until we started seeing some stuff on social media and people were talking about it. Then we're like, oh, okay, a mastermind. Okay. What's that all about?
Yeah. And it's funny because we do coaching calls like all throughout the week or sales calls, to get people, personal trainers, fitness enthusiasts into our program and mentor them. And it's like, a lot of the people, they'll always like say like, oh, let me figure it out on my own. Let me just do things on my own first or this and that. And it's just, there's always that excuse. And it's just like, okay, but what if you just actually just invested in a coach? Like how much that could change your life and just even your mindset.
Yeah, I get it. I also get that there's a lot of bad coaches.
Yeah,
so
for sure. There is.
So it's a fine line, especially when I talk to people about finding a coach, because there are legit bad coaches. Yeah. I've had some. So, it's one of those, like you have to be really aware of what you're getting into there and really have both your expectations in both directions, I would imagine, to make sure it's the right match.
Yeah. And that's where the whole like trust comes in though with like social media, right? It's like, how do you turn a stranger into a friend into a buyer, right? It's like, you got to get to know them, like them and trust them with like good, valuable content where you're actually being authentic and, displaying that, hey, I know my shit, I teach it in a good way to keep it simple. And, so yeah.
Yeah. Talk to me about imposter syndrome a little bit, because I know that comes up with every coach. Sure. Like when did you decide like, okay, we're knowledgeable enough. we've done this on ourselves. We're going to coach others. And how did you get around those conversations of doubt?
Yeah, that's a great question. I was just going to say before that too, I think it's like super selfish when somebody just all of a sudden, like with very little inner experience, like they're just like, oh, I'm going to coach somebody, I think it's super selfish because we literally waited very patiently, to sit there and become like a business coach because we want to sit there and be really, really good and serve our clients. So yeah, I mean, everybody has imposter syndrome. Even like till this day, like there's self-doubt that we have. Like, are we really serving our clients? Are we really helping them out? Are we really the right like coaches for them? So I don't think it's ever going to really like die off. It's just one of those things you just have to keep working on like a muscle, it's just like, you got to work on that imposter syndrome muscle and just strengthen it,
But I would say it was like 3 years ago because that's when we started our business, the Dynamic Inner Circle, to help, fitness pros, grow and build their businesses. But it was about 3 years ago and we were finally just like, okay, we've had a lot of coaches, we've had a lot of mentors, we've been in masterminds. So it's like, when are we going to launch this? When are we going to have the confidence to do it? And then we just did it. We just started off very slow, didn't charge a whole lot, and just got a lot of social proof, gave people great experience and results. And after that, it kind of took off. Yeah,
but it goes back to like what you said. We had the system and the method in place from doing it 7 years on our own. Right?
Yeah.
So you see other coaches out there where they've never had a fitness business or coached anybody online, but yet they're giving advice on how to do it. So where's the system? Where's the method? Where's the experience? Like
you also had been coached and had been in masterminds, so you also learned that way too, which is awesome.
That's where you said like bad coaches come in. You see it all the time on Instagram and stuff.
And nowadays, all you have to do is have like a huge following, and it's like you're like, oh, I'm that celebrity with a blue check mark, and it's like I'm a great coach, and I can, So it's scary. It really is.
Yeah, I think, and as someone who hires coaches a lot, I've had to navigate through that as well. Yeah. So I get that, and then I'm very aware of it on the other side, coaching people that what they're coming to me with.
What was like the worst experience you've had with like a coach that you hired?
So my experience, and I'll share this for anyone listening that's looking for a coach, is sometimes coaches will, on the enrollment call, it's called an enrollment call when they're having that, or they'll call it all kinds of things. It's not usually called a sales call. So they'll have a call to help you. Let's have a call and help, a strategy session or whatever they call it. Yeah. And when they get you to talk about all the things wrong, and then that's like that happens to be the exact same thing that they help with. So they basically cater what they're offering for their coaching based on what you're saying. So to me, that's a little bit of a red flag. Now, like I'm all for coaches listening and getting that, but I've learned that when the coach seems to be almost like too perfect of a match, like that's exactly what we do. Usually that's not. And they're usually saying that to a lot of people.
Yeah. Exactly. And that kind of goes into
the chameleon coach.
Yeah.
Like, I fix every problem.
That's a good one. I've heard this from somebody else too, say, well, sometimes you just have to sell people on what they want, but then you got to give them what they need. So I'm just thinking like, well, that could go both ways.
Yeah, I'm always going to go, for me, I personally always go the authentic route. Like you have, like one of my favorite coaches, that I worked with this year, what I loved about him is I've done so many enrollment calls and he had no enrollment call game. He literally just talked to me, understood what I was struggling. We just had a conversation and it made sense to me to work with him.
Okay.
So I respect that a lot. I know there's a lot of training behind enrollment calls and all of that, the things, but to me, it just feels a little bit too constructed sometimes.
Yeah. I agree. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if somebody's listening right now and they have that pinch to like, I want to help people, I want to do something, what would you tell them? But they're scared to do it.
I would say first, just hire like a coach or a mentor that you want to emulate and learn the ropes through them, and like obviously keep doing like your own, like, self type of like going through the journey and stuff, or, go off and like get self education, just keep learning and stuff, but just be more of a student. Like, don't just think like after 6 months, if you just going through the journey and you just get this kind of confidence that you can just go off and start coaching people, because it's a lot harder than what it really like seems to be.
Totally.
And I think a lot of people like, they don't understand that. They think I get to work from like the laptop lifestyle and I get to like answer a couple of emails, and it's like, no, like you got to hop on a call. You got to get on the Zoom call. You got to like be almost a therapist sometimes, these people too, and it's a lot of work,
And I would even say if you have an itch, scratch it. Because you're always going to live with that what if you don't try it. And then there's so many people out there that want to do it, but it's like they can't get past that imaginary wall of fear. Yeah. So I'm always going to say, just if you have an itch in life, scratch it. If you fail, no big deal. At least you tried, and just carry on.
I love that. And I'm going to add to that, even though I'm interviewing you, I'm going to add to that, follow your vision versus the money, because that never works, just to do something because you hear that there's a certain amount of money in it.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. This is awesome. Where can people find you, and what if they want to coach with you?
So they can check us out at bigeyebrows.com.
They have big eyebrows for legit. You should buy that domain. That would be funny.
I know, right?
Big eye, and everyone would remember it.
He wants to do like an eyebrow threading like business.
They set up a banner. You guys can in our backdrop right now because we filmed earlier, and what they said is all this is eyebrow. Like, so they definitely have a thing about eyebrows.
Yeah, definitely.
It's just a little bit lame humor, but they can check us out though at dynamicinnercircle.com, and they can find us like on social media, Chris and Eric Martinez.
Amazing. Well, thank you for this.
Absolutely. Thank you so much too.
Thanks for leveling up with us today. Please share this episode if you found it helpful so others can join in. And don't forget to hit that subscribe so you don't miss out on future shows. And if you would leave me a 5-star review, I appreciate those so much. I read all of them, and it's how I know that I'm giving you information that you find valuable. And come interact with me over on Instagram at NatalieJillFit. I read all the direct messages and comments over there. Make it a great day, creating everything from nothing.